Morning, friends. How are you today? It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. Long time no see. It's been quite a week. We've been hitting temperatures of between 104 and 107 Fahrenheit every day. Today, probably going to be no different. This heat wave was supposed to end yesterday, but they've extended it to Wednesday. Today is Sunday. And so I can only get stuff done in the very early morning because even in the evening, it's not cooling off and we're still dealing with really high temperatures at night, which is not unusual for folks who are used to living in desert, things like that. But it is actually quite unusual for us. We generally will get lots of triple-digit temperatures, but they're usually around 101, 102, and then it cools off to the upper 50s, low 60s at night, which is amazing. So the fact that we still are staying hot at night is interesting and challenging. So I am out here this morning, not to do a ton of work, but to harvest this guy. Chocolate lace flower. I did get an order through wholesale, so I want to harvest it. It needs to go into the wholesaler tomorrow around 5 a.m. And then I'll look at some other stuff and see how destructive the rodents have been. I mean, that's an example right there. Nothing left. You can see the rodent deterrent isn't really helping. One thing I'm noticing that's very interesting, I take that back. I was going to say is they're not really bothering the Lisianthus, but I do see some spots here. The Lizzie is still really short, but I'm able to use it for the CSA. And some of these other ones are a little bit taller, so hopefully I can use those for wholesale, because I would like to get at least some return out of that investment. Okay, let me set you guys down and harvest this, and I'll tell you what else has been going on. So construction is still going full steam ahead at my house. Hopefully by the end of next week, we will have most of the kitchen back, which would be amazing. It's been challenging not to be able to cook, but we do finally have running water in one of the closer bathrooms, so that's good. Now I have a tray of zinnias at home that I am going to put in the home garden instead of bringing them out here. There's just no reason to bring them out here because they'll just get eaten. And at home, while I am having some pest issues, I can more easily protect them. They've been hardening off. They're about ready to go out. So when we get home, I'm going to go ahead and get those set up in the home garden in various places. They won't be a row crop, and that's okay. You know, we're going to nook and cranny farm for the rest of the season just to get things into the ground where they can safely go. I do still need to come out and put the sunflowers in here in that bed that we cleared. I'm just kind of waiting for the weather to not be so horrid, because even if I transplant them at night, when it goes up to 107 degrees direct sun in the daytime, they're just gonna fry, even though they've been hardening off. So I'm just trying to find, you know, wait for the window in the weather. Hopefully after this heat wave ends, we'll just be back to our normal, like 80s during the day, low 60s, upper 50s at night, and everything will be fine. You know, heat-loving plants, they're doing all right, but they tend to slow down, not really grow. They'll just kind of hang out while they're trying to manage the temperature. So while I am getting some growth of tomatoes, everything else is kind of just at a standstill. So there's a lot of work to be done in the home garden. I have started soaking some long beans. I need to tear out the peas, and I'm going to plant the long beans in their place because they can grow on a trellis. So get those going, because both of those, I have I think it's Thai soldier and Chinese red noodle. both of those can handle extreme heat according to the package. So that's a good thing. And the other thing is some of these plants, once they're established, can handle extreme heat, but they won't even germinate if it's too hot. So I'm hoping that chosen wisely and we'll get some beans, because the bean plants that I planted earlier in the season are kind of petering out. So I'm glad I put in multiple successions. And I need to start more cucumbers. I've been getting lots of cucumbers for the first time ever. Honestly, it's not even that growing cucumbers has been hard, but they just haven't, in past years, really produced for me. And I don't know why, but this year they are. So I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm thrilled, and I've been enjoying making lots of pickles, and I just want to keep it going. So I'm going to start another succession of those that I can put in as soon as this set of plants kind of peters out. I won't start my fall crops until probably end of August, because we stay hot here September into October. Yeah, through September into October, we stay really hot. And sometimes in October it can be very, very hot. So I want to make sure that I don't start plants too early that want cold weather and then stick them out and they get hot weather and they die. Also, I'm kind of limited. I can have a fall garden, but I really can't have a winter garden. And that's not because of temperatures. That's because of sun. My garden becomes too shaded in the wintertime because of where the sun goes, how low it goes on the horizon, and the trees, the big redwood trees growing around my property. So there's not enough sun in the winter to grow things in my garden, except for mustard. That did really, really well this past year, and that is a biofumigant. So I am going to be growing that all over the garden this winter as a cover crop, because I would like to eliminate all of the fungal diseases we had this spring, which was a lot. Even my blackberries. The blackberries have started fruiting. The drupelets, the little tiny berries on the berry, a lot of them are totally discolored, pale, and that's generally an indication of a fungal disease. Not that they currently have it, but that the plant did have it when it was setting fruit. And since everything else in the garden got fungal diseases from over the spring, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So yeah, I would like to eradicate that everywhere I can. Okay, so we've harvested the Daucus. Let's go check the damage elsewhere. Things are still growing. This Tweedia I've mentioned before, this week with the CSA, maybe I'll do another mason jar arrangement and use that, because it's pretty, but it's so short. And then these Lisianthus, I think this might be the yellow variety. Yep. Those are just starting. These are a bit taller than these light pink ones over here, but they survived, they produced. They may not be as tall as I'd like, but considering everything else that I've lost on this farm, I'm very happy with these guys. And this is Scabiosa Salmon Queen, getting nice and tall. And our Black Knight over here is blooming and is much taller than it was when it first started to bloom. This is where we're going to see the destruction. Look at this. So this is one of the invasive thistles. Super spiky from top to bottom. I need to cut that guy down before it goes to seed. The thistles themselves are really cool looking, but definitely not something I want to keep here. They're here everywhere anyway, but I want to make sure I keep eradicating them. Same thing with these guys. So all of this needs to be string trimmed. It's just been too hot. Just too hot to be out. Okay, so dahlias. For the ones that are still surviving, and these were unnamed. These were tubers that I couldn't read the name on. They are starting to produce. Very small stems though, too small to use right now, but I will deadhead those and they'll give me some taller stems. This one looks like it's Brookside Snowball, hopefully, and it does have flowers on it, so hopefully I'll get some more than a few stems off of those. But yeah, almost all of these. Bride to Be, White Nettie, Ivanetti. This whole row was Bridezilla. Those are all gone from the rodents. Nothing left. And again, traps not catching anything. So I do have a few Cornell. What is this one? Alley-oop. There's supposed to be two. There's only one. So yeah, a few dahlias out of this whole bed. The mums, I haven't checked this in like 2 days. So still suffering some loss, but it doesn't look like it's gotten worse. So there's that. These are the only zinnias pretty much left. I mean, they look beautiful, but again, super short stems. I can use them in a vase arrangement this year. I mean, this week. They'll be pretty for that. I mean, there's fresh, all these holes I have been setting gopher traps in or mouse traps, and it just doesn't do a thing. So I'm kind of giving up on this bed for the season. However, I would like to protect the rest of the mums. They are getting close to setting their buds, but again, they won't be ready to harvest till September. Sunflowers, these guys, super tall, but the heads are still very, very tiny, not really ready yet. So maybe another week on those. And God, look at all this stuff that needs to be string trimmed. This bed is done. It's just sitting there. We're going to build the 4x6s as soon as the weather gets a little bit cooler, hopefully in this next week, and get these set up. And then we've got, this is Fluffles. So this gal survived. There's Cornell Bronze back there that survived. Everybody else is dead. Lilies. Now this week I can probably harvest these. This is the Lotus Queen, and you can tell this one is ready for harvest. This is the stage you want to harvest it at. That's interesting. These are only two flower buds. So some of them, that one failed, but I mean, they're looking pretty good. Yeah, these are mostly, I think what I'm going to do, so since they're so close, I was thinking about harvesting some of them and bringing them in for consignment, but I don't think they'll sell. I think this is just going to be for the CSA folks this week. Like I said, I'm not going to grow lilies again because there's only a select variety that people want, and they're very expensive. And even though these are easy to grow, it's not worth taking up the bed space if I can't sell them. And for the cost per stem, it doesn't really make sense to load up a CSA bouquet with them, because then the bouquet would be either way overpriced and they're getting way, way, way more for what they paid, or so small that they'll think they're undervalued. So that's how it goes. And sometimes you just don't know until you grow it and see. And this is my 3rd year growing lilies. I actually really do enjoy growing them because they're so easy. But that's it, because a lot of these are going to go to waste, which really stinks. Okay. I think we're done out here today. I wanted to come see if there was a whole lot more destruction. One of the reasons I'm really sad about the zinnias being destroyed is that these on this end were all Floret originals. This was really expensive seed, and I was very excited to grow it. And I mean, I don't even remember if this is precious metals, or I have like 3 varieties. I do still have some seed that I, actually some of it I think I started to go in the succession that's going to go at home. So I'll be able to save some. But I mean, they're gorgeous. And I was just so looking forward to having a whole row, a whole bed of the Floret originals. And I thought people are going to love these, and they will. It's just that it's not going to happen in this succession. Hopefully, the ones I put in at home, we can protect. I'm putting them in various spots all over the garden. And if you saw my short yesterday, you'll have seen that I had to, that the rats, or it's probably rats, I don't think it's squirrels because it's happening at night, have started eating my apples. The apples I've waited for years for. And so I followed advice from a lot of other gardeners who say if you put them in organza bags, that protects the fruit while it's still ripening. Now, rats could chew through anything, so organza bags is not going to stop them. But it might be the kind of thing that it's, a challenge, and so they let it go in favor of other things. I don't know. So I ordered some and I'm giving it a shot. I mean, organza bags are cheap, and I can use them elsewhere too, because a lot of farmers, especially flower like breeders, will use organza bags on prime flower buds that they want to save and protect from being pollinated or messed with by insects like dahlias and stuff like that. So, I mean, I can always use these. Sorry, something jumped on me and I thought it was a tick. I had Lyme disease many years ago and pretty cautious about ticks. Okay, that's it for the farm. I do want to show you this other little bed we made of the dahlias. This one's doing great. So this one, even though they can cross overland to get to them, so far, they just haven't been. And it is blooming. And I have taken some stems, but you can see how nice and tall they are. So like, this is one of the successes. But I do need to come in and deadhead because, you know, once again, one of the jobs of a flower is to get pollinated and set seed so the plant can reproduce. And if you want your plant to keep pumping out flowers, unless it's a one and done, then you need to keep deadheading or they will stop flowering for you because they'll think their job is done. So I do want to deadhead here. I mean, these have a lot of insect damage. They've been open for quite a while, but these are the ones you got to get like pretty much right away, because with the nice open faces, they are a favorite of pollinators, which is wonderful. I'm not really super concerned. These were extra. Oh no, these were the ones that I started from seed from Floret. So shooting stars and something else. They're kind of a mix. And these guys are going to be here forever. When they're done at the end of the season and they die back, I'll cut them down, add a ton more soil on top of them, cover them with a thick layer of mulch, and they'll be protected over the winter. They don't get very cold here for dahlias. We can leave them in the ground. Like the coldest we'll get maybe is 27, 26 degrees Fahrenheit. It's really the water that I want to protect them from, because we get a lot of rain, usually. I mean, now we're moving into an El Nino year, so it might be no rain. But when we get the rain and it settles down on those roots, and then we get the freeze thaw, and that basically destroys them, they rot. So that's really what I'm protecting them from. But this is working for dahlia growers, even in zones 6 and up. And we're in zone 9 here. So check it out if you're interested. If you go to Jenny Love, and she has posted a whole thing on no-till dahlias, and she leaves them in the ground. She goes through step by step how she does it, and she's had successful years doing this. And the nice thing about leaving them in the ground is they tend to bloom an entire month earlier than they do when you have to dig them and put them back in. Now, for some folks, their climate just demands that they have to be dug. But in places, like I said, it's been working for people in zones 6 and up. Leaving them in the ground means, number one, a whole lot less labor. You don't have to dig them in the fall. You don't have to just divide them and all that kind of stuff. And then they start blooming earlier. So you might want to give it a try if you're in that zone spread. One thing to keep in mind, after a couple of years, you are going to have to dig and divide, because they will produce so many tubers that they'll stop flowering for you because they'll just be too congested in there. So this is not like a forever thing. Just like any plant that multiplies underground, you will have to, every couple of years, dig them up, divide them, replant. But it really does save you a lot of labor if you're digging every year and you don't need to. Okay, I'm going to grab my bucket. We'll head home. I'm going to get this into the cool, and then we'll start to transplant those zinnias. It's still shady in my garden right now because it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. And so hopefully we can get those in. I'll probably have to erect extra shade for them just to make it through the next couple days. Oh, and I wanted to show you something. So I missed my window to harvest this guy, and this is seed. This is all millet seed. So I am going to actually save it, grab it in a paper bag and let it dry out. That's Purple Majesty millet. It's beautiful, but a lot of it is flown, so I'm sure I'll get lots of millet popping up here next year, but that's okay. And then this is the Limelight Green millet. I love this so much. But as you can see, really big for putting in bouquets. But I'm thinking about harvesting it and seeing if I can stick it in consignment, because I bet some people would take this. Okay, we're back home. I just watered in the garden, and I'm going to show you the couple of spots that I'm going to pop these zinnias in. And if I spread them around the garden, they have a much better chance of surviving. Okay, first there's this mishmash bed that has some peppers in it, corn, which is actually doing well. It's starting to tassel. And this is an onion bed, but the onions keep getting eaten by the rodents. So people who say that you plant onions and garlic around things you want to protect from rodents, they're actually eating it. It's not that they don't, clearly they don't mind, at least green onion. So I'm going to pop a couple zinnias in here. This is an empty spot in the bed that did have lettuce. I'm going to pop a few in here. Tomatoes are doing well, and the celery has bolted, but that's fine. I don't really care. I'm not worried. But I am going to pop a few zinnias in here. And I do see, so this was some okra that was coming up. I do see that it's been nibbled on. So I will probably place a couple of traps in here as well, or at the very least, cloche the zinnias. Now I also think I'm going to put a few in here. This bed does have beans in it. Those are sweet potatoes. This is a couple of beans, and you can see nibbled on. So again, I'm going to cloche a few. This has also got different lettuces and some cilantro, but not much of it is germinating, again, from the heat. And so I'm going to pop some zinnias in here. They're under a shade cloth, which should help them. And I'm going to put some in this bed. All this is ready to get pulled up now. This is daffodil foliage. It's all dyed back. The bulbs are set. So I'm going to pop them in this open space here. I'm going to put a few through here. Same thing here, some right here, some right here, in between these oyas, which is in between different bean and mustard varieties. And I'm going to put a few in here. So this is Nigella that just popped up. It's self-sowed from the last time I had flowers here. So I'll put some daffodils, zinnias in here as well. Oh, look, that's a sweet potato. So that must be an old one, because I definitely didn't plant them here this year. Yeah, so I'll put those in here as well. I doubt I'll have any left over, but if I do, I'll probably stick a few in this area right here. So I don't have a ton of zinnias. I started a tray of 3 different varieties, and you know, some of them are looking good, but others, you know, they've been in this tray for a really long time, probably too long. And like I said, the only way I can, you know, if I spread them out, hopefully I can protect them from the rodents. I don't know. I feel like it's a losing battle at this point, but, and these are going to need water before I put them in the ground. But we've got here Queenie Lime Red, and then these are 2 floret varieties. This is Victorian Wedding and Precious Metals. And you can see they're looking rough because they've been hardening off in 100 plus degrees temperatures. And even though they get deeply watered every day, you know, these are soil blocks, so they dry out. They're still damp, but I'm going to totally saturate them, let them really soak up water now, and then I'm going to place them in the ground. But I am actually going to label where I put these. So I tied up the tomatoes more on the Florida Wave system, and I pulled out the peas, which were long gone, and planted these Thai soldier beans. They're long beans, and Chinese red noodle beans. Both of these should climb this trellis. I did soak the seeds overnight, which I normally don't do, but even though there's irrigation on here, with all this heat, it's been hard for the soil to stay hydrated. So I'm actually going to hand water this probably multiple times a day for the next week until they get completely germinated. And I covered it with straw as well to try to keep the soil a little bit cooler. Even though these beans can tolerate extreme temperatures, extremely high temperatures, I want to give them a chance to germinate properly. So a little bit cooler soil than 100 degrees and hopefully we'll be good to go. So it's starting to get really hot, and I'm going to head inside and wrap this video up. But I did want to show you, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there are 2 passion fruits. I'm so excited. Battery died, so I came inside. It's really hot out there. So I'm going to be done for outside for today. However, I did make it longer today. It's 10:15. Garden's still in shade, but it's very hot. We got a lot done, which is great in the garden. I did not clean up the daffodil foliage yet, and that's really only because our green bin is currently filled to the top with other stuff we've been trimming around the property, and I'll wait and do that once the green bin is emptied on Tuesday, instead of leaving it like laying around. It'll just lay around in the garden where it's already at. Okay, so a few more things I'm going to start now. And I would normally direct sow these, but so many things get destroyed out there direct sown because they just can't. So the beans I'm taking a risk on, but those are better direct sown anyway. So in 6 packs, I'm going to sow some rainbow chard. And I have more of it here. It's called, this variety is called Celebration. Apparently chard can, even though it's considered a cold season crop, it can really handle really hot temperatures. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of those in the ground because, you know, it might grow a little slower, but we'll definitely get some, and we'll continue to get some into the fall, which will be great. Really like chard. It's a wonderful vegetable. So I'm going to get those going. Also going to sow more artichokes. And I have 3 artichoke plants out there now, but I want to have a lot more because I want to be able to harvest enough for our family to enjoy throughout the summer next year. I'm going to start more cucumbers, Bayet Alpha, and homemade pickle. These actually have been really great for making pickles. So I'll get those started to replace plants out there once they really fizzle out. And in fact, I might just put them in a new location altogether because the ones on that cucumber trellis just looked awful. Have never really put on growth. They've got flowers on them, but I don't think they're going to do anything. I don't know if it's a location or the soil or what, but the ones in the raised bed, in the birdie's bed, are doing amazing. They've been just pumping out the cucumbers, so I want to keep that going. And speaking of pickles, I need more dill. So those are the seeds that I'm going to be starting probably later today when it gets a little bit cooler in the greenhouse. We've been hitting 125 degrees Celsius, 125 degrees Fahrenheit in the greenhouse. It's been so hot. And my greenhouse is mostly in the shade. So that gives you an idea, even with the doors and the vents open. So yeah, the sunflowers still look fine in there, even though they're kind of twisty because they've been in their trays for too long. All right, that's going to be it for me today, you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden and you're not struggling with massive heat, although a lot of us are. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.